Hello to all my listeners. Today I am going to share a story about a father's intuition, a gut feeling that ended up saving a life. Behind the mask of the perfect fiancé, there was a cold-blooded predator hiding in plain sight. Let us get into it. Elias Galloway was never one to be wrong about people. After 30 years on the police force as a lead investigator, he had learned to read human souls like they were open books. The fine lines around the eyes, the slight tremor in a voice, or a gaze that was just a bit too confident. All of it was an alphabet to him, one that spelled out either the truth or a lie. But now, as he sat at the celebratory dinner table, looking at his only daughter's fiancé, he found himself doubting his own judgment for the first time in his life. Maybe he was just getting old. Maybe it was just that typical fatherly jealousy his wife, Nadine, had warned him about. "Dad, why are you looking so gloomy?" Destiny sat down next to him, wrapping her arm around his shoulders. She smelled like floral perfume and pure happiness. "You do not like Julian." Elias looked at his daughter. She was 26, but to him, she was still that little girl with the braided hair who used to beg him for bedtime stories. She was the one he had carried in his arms when she was sick, the girl for whom he would do absolutely anything. "I like him," he lied. "I'm just nervous. A wedding is a big step, honey." Destiny laughed and kissed his cheek. "You are the one who always told me to trust my gut, Dad." "Well, my gut says Julian Vane is the one." Elias stayed silent. His gut was telling him something else entirely. Julian Vane had appeared in Destiny's life 8 months ago. He was handsome, successful, and incredibly charming. He owned a small but thriving real estate development firm. At 32, he had never been married. He was the perfect fiancé. In fact, he was too perfect. Elias had run a background check through his old channels and found nothing. His record was clean. No criminal history, no red flags. But something kept scratching at Elias from the inside, refusing to let him rest. There was something in that man's eyes. They were empty, like the eyes of a fish. Julian would smile and crack jokes, being the life of the party, but those eyes always stayed cold. "Mr. Galloway," Julian approached them, carrying 2 glasses of red wine. "Will you have a drink with me? To your daughter, the most beautiful woman in the world." Elias took the glass. Their eyes met for a split second. In that brief moment, Elias saw something flash in Julian's gaze. Was it mockery? Superiority? Or was Elias just imagining things? "To Destiny," Elias said. They clinked glasses. Julian flashed his signature smile and moved on to the other guests. Nadine came over and took her husband's hand. "That is enough," she whispered. "I see how you are looking at him. He is a good man, Elias. Our baby is happy. What more do you want?" "I do not know, Nadine. I really do not know." That evening, after the guests had left and Destiny had gone home with Julian, Elias sat on his porch for a long time, staring out into the Maryland night. His cigar had gone out long ago, but he did not notice. For 30 years, he had spent his life catching criminals. He knew that the most terrifying monsters wore human faces. They smiled, they bought flowers, and they said all the right things. And then, "Elias, come to bed," Nadine called from inside. He stubbed out his cigar and stood up. He had made up his mind. Maybe he was paranoid. Maybe it was all foolishness. But he had to be sure. The next day, Elias drove out to see an old friend named Bernie, who owned an electronics shop in a quiet part of town. "A camera?" Bernie raised an eyebrow. "What kind of camera?" "Something small, discreet, something I can hide in a car." Bernie stayed quiet for a moment, then let out a short laugh. "Elias, you are retired. What kind of investigation are you running?" It is a personal matter, Bernie. All right, none of my business then. I have got just the thing. Bernie reached under the counter and pulled out a tiny box. It records both video and audio. It can run for up to 5 days on its own. It is motion activated, so the battery lasts longer. Elias turned the device over in his hands. It was about half the size of a matchbox. How much do I owe you? For you? Nothing. You got my boy out of that mess years ago, remember? I have not forgotten. When he got home, Elias hid the camera in his desk drawer. Nadine could not know anything, at least not yet. 2 days later, Julian came over for lunch. Destiny was excitedly talking about the wedding preparations. The dress was ready, the flowers were ordered, and the venue was booked. Dad, stop it. The wedding is in 1 week. She laughed as she watched Elias scrutinizing the invitation samples. Everything is going to be perfect. Elias nodded, waiting for his moment. It came right after lunch. Julian stepped out to take a phone call, leaving his SUV unlocked in the driveway. Elias, claiming he had a headache and needed some fresh air, slipped outside. Installing the camera took less than 30 seconds. He tucked it under the dashboard where no one would ever find it. Dad? Destiny appeared on the porch. What are you doing out there? Elias straightened up, his heart pounding. Nothing, honey, just looking at the car. It is a nice ride. Good grief, Dad. Destiny rolled her eyes. You have already checked his background 100 times. Relax. Nadine stood in the doorway, shaking her head. Elias, stop it. People are going to think you have lost your mind. Maybe I have, he muttered under his breath. Julian returned, and they all sat down for tea. Elias smiled and joked, being more charming than usual, but inside his stomach was tied in knots. 3 days. He just had to wait 3 days. Those 3 days felt like an eternity. Elias barely slept, running every possible scenario through his head. What if he was wrong? What if the recording was just Julian listening to the radio or talking about work? On the 4th day, he managed to retrieve the camera while Julian was over for another visit. His hands were shaking. That night, after Nadine had fallen asleep, Elias retreated to his home office and turned on the laptop. He put on his headphones so he would not wake her and hit play. The first few hours were nothing but static and street noise from the parked car. Then Julian got behind the wheel and turned on some hip-hop. Elias fast-forwarded, stopping only when he heard phone conversations. It was all normal business. Real estate, deadlines, contractors, nothing suspicious. Maybe I really am just an old, paranoid fool, Elias thought, rubbing his tired eyes. He was about to shut the laptop down when something new appeared on the screen. Julian had parked the car in a desolate area. The camera captured a glimpse of a chain-link fence and a piece of an abandoned warehouse. A woman climbed into the passenger seat. Elias turned up the volume. So? The woman's voice was raspy, heavy with the sound of someone who had smoked for far too long. Everything is on track, like clockwork, Julian chuckled. The wedding is right around the corner. I will play the happy husband for a couple of months. And after that, well, accidents happen. Why be so dramatic, Julian? No, Janelle. First, we transfer everything into my name. The house, the land, her condo downtown. Then a divorce. I will say she was cheating on me. I will have the evidence ready. Elias felt the blood drain from his face. His fingers curled into fists. What if that detective father of hers suspects something? The woman asked. You said he looks at you like he wants to skin you alive. Julian laughed. The old man is past his prime. He looks at me with those tired eyes thinking he knows something but he does not know a thing. I just smile at him and think, soon, old man, your little girl is going to be my cash cow. Elias gritted his teeth so hard his jaw ached. His hands were trembling. And if she does not agree to the divorce, the woman pressed. She will. I know how to be very persuasive. And if not, like I said, accidents happen. Do you know how many people fall down the stairs every year or drown in their own bathtubs? The woman giggled. You are a monster, Julian. I'm a pragmatist, Janelle. I just take what I need. That naive little girl looks at me with those puppy dog eyes and thinks I am her Prince Charming. Meanwhile, I'm calculating exactly how much her father's property is worth. How much? That lot in the hills, plus the square footage of the house and her city condo. It is easily worth $1.2 million, maybe more. Elias paused the recording. His heart was hammering so hard he could hear it in his ears. He sat motionless for several minutes, staring at the frozen image on the screen, then hit play again. What about the previous one? The woman asked. The one from Charlotte? Elias leaned in closer. Kiara? Julian shrugged. She will not be talking to anyone ever again. What does that mean? It means what it means. She fell from a balcony. A tragic accident. She was drinking. She slipped. He waved his hand dismissively. It happens. Good God, Julian. His voice turned cold and hard. It was her own fault. She started digging, asking too many questions. She got into my phone and found our messages. She wanted to go to the police. Did I need that? No. The woman went silent, then asked quietly, what if this one starts digging too? She won't. She is too stupid, too in love. She's the perfect victim. Elias hit pause. His fingers wouldn't follow his commands. He missed the button 3 times. Kiara. Tragic accident. Balcony. He opened his browser and typed in Kiara, balcony, fall, Charlotte. The news headlines from 2 years ago flooded the screen. A young woman had died after falling from a 10th floor balcony. The investigation had ruled it an accident. The victim's family had refused to believe the official report. Elias found a photo. She was young, beautiful, and had a bright smile. 28 years old, a graphic designer. He went back to the recording. For the next 30 minutes, Julian and the woman named Janelle discussed the details. It turned out Janelle was his longtime accomplice. They had pulled this scheme multiple times. Julian would marry wealthy women, gain their trust, and then take everything: houses, cars, savings. Some were lucky enough to just get a lopsided divorce. Others were not. Kiara was not the only one. There was someone named Olivia, who had slipped in the shower, and a Sierra, who had supposedly overdosed on sleeping pills. Elias wrote down every name with a shaking hand. A serial killer. His daughter was about to marry a serial killer. Elias watched the recording until the end. The final clip showed Julian dropping Janelle off at a house and saying, "I will call you after the wedding. We will celebrate when the deal is sealed." He shut down the laptop and sat in the darkness for a long time. What should he do? Go to the police? Show them the tape? But it was his word against Julian's. Lawyers would tear this recording apart. Illegal surveillance, inadmissible evidence. Julian would hire the best attorneys and walk free. No. First, he had to show this to Destiny. She had to see it with her own eyes. Elias did not sleep that night. In the morning, when Nadine walked into the kitchen, she found him sitting there, pale and red-eyed. "Elias, what is wrong? Are you sick?" "Call Destiny," he said, his voice raspy. "Tell her to come over right now. And tell her to come alone." "What is going on?" "Just call her." Nadine saw something in his eyes. something she had only seen once before. Many years ago, when he had come home from a crime scene involving a child, she didn't ask another question. Destiny arrived an hour later, looking worried. "Mom, Dad, what is it? You scared me. What is the emergency?" Elias stood up from the table. "Sit down," he said. "Both of you need to see something." "Dad, I have things to do. The wedding is in 3 days, remember? I have to—" "Sit down." Something in his tone silenced her. She slowly sat in the chair next to her mother. Elias placed the laptop on the table and turned it toward them. "I had to be sure," he said quietly. "I know you both think I am a crazy old man, a paranoid detective who can't let go. Maybe I am. But watch this until the end, and then decide for yourselves." He hit play and walked over to the window, turning his back to them. He did not want to see their faces. He did not want to watch his daughter's world collapse. At first, there was silence, only the voices from the recording. Then Elias heard Nadine gasp for air, then a muffled sob. He turned around. Nadine was crying silently, her hand over her mouth. Tears were streaming down her cheeks, and her shoulders were shaking. She stared at the screen with wide eyes, unable to believe what she was hearing. And Destiny sat perfectly still, like a statue. Her face was white, completely bloodless. She wasn't crying. She seemed to have turned to stone. The recording continued. Julian's voice spoke horrifying things about Kiara, about the accidents, and about how easy it was to kill someone and make it look like a tragedy. And then Destiny broke. It was a terrible thing to witness, a grown woman turning back into a terrified little girl. She curled inward, clutching her stomach, and let out a wail. It wasn't a cry. It was a howl, like a wounded animal. It was a sound of pain that was impossible to bear. The sound of a betrayal so deep it couldn't be processed. "No," she whimpered between sobs. "No, no, no. It is not true. That is not him. It can't be him. Dad, tell me it is not true." Elias went to his daughter and held her. She clung to him like a drowning person grabbing a life raft. Her fingernails dug into his back, but he felt no pain. All his pain was for her. "He loves me," she sobbed. "He told me he loved me every single day. He looked me in the eyes and said it. We were planning to have children, Dad. Children. He was even picking out names. He said he wanted a son, that we would name him after you." Elias felt a lump in his throat. It had all been a calculation, a cold, cynical play. Julian knew exactly how to melt a father's heart by promising to name a grandson after him. And Elias had almost fallen for it. Almost. The recording kept playing. When the names of the other victims, Olivia and Sierra, were mentioned, Nadine stood up and ran out of the kitchen. Elias heard her being sick in the bathroom. She had always been sensitive. She believed in people, in goodness, in justice. Now, her faith was crumbling, along with her daughter's life. When the recording finally ended, a heavy, dead silence settled over the house. It was the kind of silence that follows an explosion, when everything has been destroyed and only the echo of the disaster remains. Destiny slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were red and swollen, but something new had appeared in them. Something hard, like steel. Elias recognized that look. He had seen it in the mirror every morning for 30 years. "How many were there?" she asked quietly. How many women did he kill? I counted at least 3, maybe more. And he is still walking free? Yes. Destiny stood up. She wasn't crying anymore. The tears had dried, leaving salt streaks on her cheeks. Call the police, she said firmly. Right now. I want to be there when they arrest him. I want to see his face. Elias nodded and reached for his phone. 20 minutes later, 2 patrol cars pulled up to the house. Out of the first car stepped a man Elias had known for years. Detective Marcus Sterling, his former partner. Elias! Sterling shook his hand. What have you got? Dispatch said it was urgent. Marcus, I need your help. Personal and professional. Elias handed him a thumb drive with the recording. Listen to this and tell me if it is enough for a warrant. Detective Sterling listened to the recording in his car, with headphones on. Elias stood nearby, watching his face. He saw the expression shift from skepticism to shock, then from shock to horror. When it finished, Sterling took off the headphones and sat in silence for a long time. Then he looked at Elias. You realize this won't hold up in court? Illegal recording, no warrant, private surveillance. Any lawyer worth their salt will shred this. I know, Marcus. But there are 3 bodies. At least 3. Kiara, Olivia, Sierra. If you start digging, you will find more. Sterling rubbed the bridge of his nose. Suppose I reopen the old cases? Suppose I find a connection, but without direct evidence. Then we need direct evidence. How do you propose we get that? Elias had already thought it through. He had spent the whole night staring at the ceiling and listening to his wife's breathing. He does not know we know. The wedding is in 3 days. He is convinced everything is going according to plan. We can use that. You want your daughter to... I want that predator behind bars for everything he has done. Sterling shook his head. Elias, it is dangerous. If he suspects anything, he won't. He is too arrogant. You heard him. He thinks we are all idiots. At that moment, the front door opened and Destiny stepped out onto the porch. She had washed her face, brushed her hair, and changed her clothes. She looked calm on the outside, but Elias could see the slight tremor in her hands. I want in, she said firmly. Whatever you are planning, I am part of it. Destiny, it is too dangerous, Elias began. Dad, he was going to kill me. He was going to use me and then discard me like those other women. I have a right to be there. Sterling looked from Destiny to Elias. She is right, the detective said. We can't do it without her. If she suddenly cancels the wedding or starts acting strange, he will vanish. Men like him always have a backup plan. Fake IDs, offshore accounts. Destiny stepped closer. What do I need to do? Sterling sighed. For starters, act normal. He can't suspect a thing, not a single hint. Can you do that? Destiny closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, there was an icy resolve. I can? I spent 8 months living with a man who does not exist. It is my turn to play a role. At that exact moment, her phone rang. She looked at the screen, and Elias saw her knuckles turn white. It is him, she whispered. Answer it, Sterling said. Stay calm, just like usual. Destiny took a deep breath and hit accept. Hey, babe. Her voice was perfect. There wasn't a single false note. Elias listened as she laughed, talked about wedding decorations, and called him honey. His heart broke with pride and pain at the same time. Yeah, of course. Come over this evening. Let's have dinner together. Mom is making your favorite pot roast. Love you too. She hung up, and her face instantly changed. The mask dropped. He is coming at 7, she said in a hollow voice. Now what? Sterling pulled out a notepad. Now, we get to work. Elias, I need every name from that recording. Everything he mentioned. I will pull the archives. I already wrote them down. Elias handed him the list. Good. Next, we need to find this Janelle. She is an accomplice at the very least. If we squeeze her, she will talk. The recording has the place where he dropped her off. Part of a building was in the shot. I can try to pinpoint the neighborhood. Do that. Destiny, what about you? Are you just going to wait? Sterling looked at her seriously. No, you are the key. We need him to incriminate himself, to confess to something in front of witnesses or leave physical evidence. You know him better than anyone. What triggers him? What makes him lose control? Destiny thought for a moment. Jealousy, she said finally. Nay, he is incredibly jealous. Once I was talking to an old college friend I ran into on the street. Julian interrogated me for 3 hours afterward. Who was he? What happened between you? Why was he looking at you like that? We can use that, Sterling nodded. What else? Money. He is obsessed with it. He is always asking about my dad's house and my condo. He wants to know whose name is on the titles and if there are any liens. Now I know why, Elias added grimly. And one more thing. Destiny hesitated. He hates being told no. Once when I told him I didn't like one of his business associates, his whole vibe changed. For just a second his eyes went different. It scared me. But then he immediately smiled, and said I was right. I forgot about it until now. Sterling was taking notes. Good. Very good. We need a plan. But first, I need to check those old cases and see if I can find a solid link. Elias. Sterling lowered his voice. This has to stay between us. No official reports. No system queries for now. I understand. He might have someone on the inside. People like him usually make useful friends. Exactly. Sterling left, promising to return by evening with more information. Elias stayed on the porch with his daughter. Dad, Destiny said softly, how did you know? How did you know something was wrong with him? Elias waited a long time before answering. His eyes, he finally said. He had the wrong eyes. He smiled. He said the right things. He did the right things. But those eyes, they were dead, like a doll's eyes. I never noticed. You were in love. Love is blind isn't just a saying, honey. Destiny let out a sob. I still feel, Dad, I still feel something for him. It is horrible. I know who he is now. I heard what he said about me. But a part of me still... She couldn't finish. Elias hugged her. That is normal. 8 months is a long time. You can't just flip a switch on your feelings. But they will fade. When this is all over, they will go away. What if they don't? They will, I promise. They went back inside. Nadine was sitting in the kitchen, pale, holding a cup of cold tea. What happens next? She asked. Elias sat down beside his wife and took her hand. Next, we do what we have always done. We protect our family, whatever the cost. I am scared, Elias. I am too. But there is no other way. If we just cancel the wedding, he disappears. And a year from now, 2 years from now, he will find another victim. And another. And another. How many women have to die before he is stopped? Nadine nodded. She understood. What do I do tonight when he comes? The same thing you always do. Smile, nod and feed him dinner. Talk about the wedding. I don't think I can. I want to hit him. I don't know if I can do it. Mom, Destiny sat next to her mother. You can do it for me, for all those women he killed. We have to. Nadine looked at her daughter for a long time, then slowly nodded. All right, I will try. Elias left the women to prepare dinner and locked himself in his office. He needed to find where Julian had dropped off Janelle. He watched the recording dozens of times, pausing on every frame that showed anything from the outside. A piece of a wall, part of a sign, the angle of a street lamp. After 2 hours, he figured it out. It was an old industrial district on the outskirts of the city. An old cannery that was now abandoned. There were some residential buildings nearby built back in the 70s. He called Sterling. I found it. The industrial zone near the old cannery. There are a few apartment buildings there. Great. I will check it out. I have got something too. What? Kiara Melvins, 28. Died 2 years ago. Fell from a 10th floor balcony. Case closed as an accident. But there is an interesting detail in the files. What is it? A month before she died, she filed a police report, then withdrew it. Do you know who she filed it against? A man named Andrew Vance. Not Julian Vane. No, but the description is a perfect match for our guy. Tall, dark hair, a scar on his left hand. Elias felt a chill run down his spine. Julian had a scar on his left hand. He had seen it. Exactly. It looks like our friend changes more than just his women. He changes his names, too. How many identities does he have? I have found 3 so far. Julian Vane, Andrew Vance, and an Alex Carpenter. All the documents are real, not fakes. How is that possible? It is possible if you know the right people or have access to the databases. I think we need to be very careful. Elias hung up and sat motionless for a long time. 3 identities. 3 names. How many victims? At 6 in the evening, he went downstairs. Nadine was setting the table. Destiny was sitting in the living room, staring at a single point. He will be here soon, she said without turning around. I can feel it. It is like I can feel a predator approaching. You can do this, Elias said. I know you can. At exactly 7, the doorbell rang. Destiny stood up, smoothed her dress, and went to open it. Elias watched as she hugged the man who planned to kill her, kissed his cheek, and gave him her most tender smile. He realized then that he had underestimated his daughter. She was stronger than he thought, much stronger. Mr. Galloway. Julian entered the living room with a bottle of wine. Good to see you. Elias shook his hand, firmly, maybe a little too firmly. You too, he said, looking into those empty fish eyes. The game had begun. Dinner felt like it lasted forever. Every second felt like an hour. Every word Julian spoke was like a knife wound. Elias sat at the head of the table and observed. For 30 years, he had interrogated criminals. And now, he was using every skill he had to keep from giving himself away. He smiled, he nodded, he kept the conversation going. But inside, he was measuring every gesture, every look, every inflection. Julian was good. He was very good. He joked, told funny stories from work, and praised Nadine's pot roast. The perfect son-in-law. The perfect actor. Mr. Galloway, Julian said, sipping his wine. I wanted to discuss something. For after the wedding. What is that? Destiny and I were thinking about a joint venture. A small design studio. She is talented, as you know, and I have the connections in real estate. It is the perfect match. Elias nodded, trying to keep his face neutral. Sounds reasonable. We will need some startup capital to get it off the ground. We were thinking. Julian paused, looking almost embarrassed. Maybe Destiny could sell her condo. We will be living together anyway. and the proceeds could be invested in the business. There it was. Elias felt destiny stiffen beside him. But when he looked at her, her face was perfectly calm. "We talked about it," she said with a smile. "I'm not against it. A condo is just square footage, after all. Our future is more important." Julian beamed. "That is why I love you. Your vision." He reached across the table and took her hand. Elias saw Destiny flinch almost imperceptibly at his touch, but she didn't pull away. She held the mask. "And as for the house," Julian continued, turning to Elias, "I know it is the family home, traditions and all of that, but have you thought about downsizing? The house is big. The yard takes a lot of work. At your age, it might be getting to be too much." "At my age," Elias thought, "I wonder how soon after the wedding you would have arranged an accident for me, a fall down the stairs, a heart attack." "I am managing for now," he said aloud, "but thank you for the concern." "Well, when the grandkids come along," Julian winked at Destiny, "you won't have time for the garden anyway. You will be busy being a grandpa." Nadine dropped her fork. The clang of metal against the plate sliced through the silence. "Sorry," she muttered, picking it up. "My hands are clumsy today." Elias saw her lips were white. Talking about grandkids from the man who planned to murder their daughter was too much even for her. "Mom, are you okay?" Destiny asked. Yes, just tired. It has been a long day." Julian looked at Nadine with fake concern. "Maybe you should lie down. Destiny and I can clear the table." No, I will do it. You two stay." Nadine went into the kitchen. Elias heard her turn on the water, probably to drown out the noise. Was she crying or just trying to calm down? "Mr. Galloway," Julian lowered his voice, "I wanted to ask you something. Personally. I am listening. After the wedding, I want to be a real son to you, not just a son-in-law, a son. My father died when I was 15. Since then, I haven't had..." He trailed off, seemingly searching for words. "I haven't had a man I could look up to. But you are that man for me. Your experience, your wisdom." Elias looked at him and thought, "Lord, you are good. You are monstrously good." "I'm flattered, Don," he said. "Really. But a father's trust has to be earned. Time will tell." Julian nodded solemnly. "I understand, and I will earn it. I promise." "You have already shown what your promises are worth," Elias thought. The evening finally came to an end. Julian got ready to leave. "Early meeting with contractors tomorrow. I need to get some sleep." Destiny went out to walk him to his car. Elias watched from the window as they kissed by the gate. A long, tender kiss. Julian had his arm around her waist, whispering something in her ear. She laughed. Only after his SUV disappeared around the corner did Destiny hunch over and get sick right into the flower bed. Elias ran out to her. "Destiny, honey?" "Do not touch me." She pulled away. "Just give me a minute." She stood there, leaning against the fence, shaking, a fine, constant tremor. "I was kissing him," she whispered. "I was kissing a man who called me a stupid cow, who was planning to kill me, and I smiled and said I loved him. You were magnificent. He suspects nothing. That is no comfort, Dad. It is..." She sobbed. "I feel dirty inside, like he has defiled me with his hands, his lips, his words." Elias hugged his daughter, despite her resistance. "Just a little longer," he said. "Hold on just a little longer. It will all be over soon." When will it be over, Dad?" "Soon, I promise." They went back inside. Nadine was in the living room, hugging herself. "I can't do it anymore," she said quietly. Looking at him, smiling at him. "Elias, I won't last." "You will last. We will all last." At that moment, Elias's phone rang. It was Sterling. "Yeah, I found Janelle. Janelle Banks, for 47. Convicted of fraud. Served 3 years, released 5 years ago. She lives at the address you gave me. But that is not all." "What else?" "She worked at the Vital Records office 10 years ago. She was fired for forging documents. Now we know where our friend got 3 sets of real IDs. She made them. Looks that way. And one more thing. I checked on Olivia and Sierra. Both closed cases, ruled accidents. But in both cases, a few months before they died, they were dating men. Tall, dark hair, charming. The descriptions match perfectly. And both had property issues right before they died. Title transfers, sales below market value, strange deals, a pattern. Yes, he works on a script, and Janelle is part of that script. Maybe the key part. Elias thought for a moment. We can squeeze her. We can try. But if she warns Julian, then we have to make sure she can't warn him. What do you mean? Come over. Let's discuss it. Elias hung up and turned to his family. There is news. We found his accomplice and the link to the other victims. Does that mean we can arrest him? Destiny asked hopefully. Not yet, but we are close. Very close. Sterling arrived an hour later. They locked themselves in Elias's office and laid out everything they had gathered on the desk. 3 confirmed murders, Sterling said, pointing at the photos. Kiara Melvins, Olivia Dawson, Sierra Vance. Same MO in every case. Meet them. Fast, romance. Plans for a life together. Then the property transfer. Then the accident. He never married them legally? No. That is his trick. A common law marriage doesn't require a divorce. Less paperwork. Fewer tracks. Why was Destiny an exception? Why a formal wedding? Sterling was quiet for a moment. I think it is because of the house. Your house. Elias, it is worth too much. To get the rights to that, he needs official family ties. Inheritance. Joint ownership. He didn't just want Destiny's condo. He wanted everything. Yes. You are wealthier than you think. That lot in the hills, 2,000 square feet of living space, plus the daughter's condo, plus whatever savings you have. There are savings for retirement. That is a jackpot for him. It is worth the risk of a legal marriage. Elias looked at the photos of the dead women. Young, beautiful, smiling. They hadn't known they were going to be killed by the man they loved. What about Janelle? He asked. I'm going to pay her a visit tomorrow morning, unofficially. I'm coming with you, Marcus. That is not up for debate. I have to be there. Sterling sighed. Fine. But you just listen. No action. Deal. When Sterling left, Elias went down to the living room. Nadine and Destiny were sitting on the couch or huddled together. Dad, Destiny said, I want to know everything, so do not hide anything from me. Elias sat in the armchair opposite them. 3 women. At least 3. All died under similar circumstances. All were in relationships with a man who looks just like Julian. All had property issues right before they died. Destiny listened in silence. Her face was pale, but she was calm. Tomorrow we are going to talk to his accomplice, Janelle. If she talks, we will have the evidence we need. And if she doesn't, we will think of something else. Destiny stood up and went to the window. Dad, she said without turning around. When did it all start? When did he decide I was going to be his next victim? I do not know. maybe from the first meeting, maybe later. We met at a gallery opening. I was showing my work. Remember I told you about it? He came up and started praising my paintings. He said he had never seen anything like them, that I had talent, that I should grow, and that he was ready to help. She went quiet. I was so happy. A handsome, successful man. And he was interested in me not just as a woman, but as an artist. He said he believed in me, that I was special. Her voice trembled. And all the while, he was just choosing a victim, looking at me and thinking how much I was worth, how much he could get out of me. Destiny, honey. No, Dad, let me finish. She turned around. Tears were glinting in her eyes, but her voice was steady. I have to go through this. I have to understand it, accept it, or I will go crazy. She came to her father and sat beside him. He was the first man I fully trusted. After David. You remember how hard that was for me. For 3 years, I didn't trust anyone. And then Julian appeared, and I thought, here he is, the one I have been waiting for, the one who would never betray me. Nadine let out a sob. My baby girl. And do you know what the scariest part is? Destiny continued. I still remember how he looked at me. With love, with tenderness. It felt so real. How can anyone fake it like that? How can you play a role every single day, every single minute? He is not a robot, he's a human being. Is there really nothing inside him? Elias stayed silent. He didn't know how to answer. In 30 years of work, he had met people like that, empty inside, capable of mimicking any emotion. But he couldn't explain that to his daughter. You will get through this, he said finally. You are strong, stronger than you think. I do not feel strong. I feel used, discarded, like trash. You are not trash. You are my daughter. You will survive, and you will live a full life. And as for him, he will pay for everything. Destiny leaned her head on her father's shoulder. Promise? Promise. They sat like that until deep into the night. 3 people, bound by blood and pain, preparing for the most important battle of their lives. In the morning, Elias and Sterling headed to Janelle's. Her building, an old brick walk-up, looked as bleak as the neighborhood around it. Peeling paint, cracked sidewalk, the smell of damp in the hallway. 3rd floor, Sterling knocked. The door didn't open right away. When it finally cracked open on a chain, Elias saw a thin, haggard face. A woman who looked 60, though the records said 47. Smoke-stained hair, yellowed fingers, deep wrinkles. What do you want? The voice was the one from the recording, raspy and rough. Janelle Banks? Sterling asked, showing his badge. Detective Sterling, we need to talk. The woman went pale. Her eyes darted toward the stairs, looking for an escape. I didn't do anything. We know about Kiara, and Olivia, and Sierra. Janelle flinched as if she had been hit. I do not know what you are talking about. You do, and you have a choice. Either you talk to us now, unofficially, or we come back with a warrant and talk officially. In the second case, you are going down as an accomplice in 3 murders. In the first, there is a chance for a deal. Janelle was silent. Her hands were shaking. Let us in, Elias said. Please. Something in his voice made her falter. She looked at him intently, evaluating him. Are you the father? Yes, the father of that girl. Janelle closed her eyes. Lord, she whispered. Lord, forgive me. And she unlatched the chain. Janelle's apartment was as haggard as its owner. Old furniture, faded wallpaper, the smell of stale tobacco smoke. Dozens of cigarette butts were in a tin can on the windowsill. On the wall was a faded photo of a young, beautiful woman. Elias didn't immediately realize it was Janelle herself from 20 years ago. She sat them down on a sagging sofa and stayed standing by the window, nervously rubbing the edge of a curtain. "I knew you would come one day," she said quietly. "I knew. I waited for it every day." "Then why didn't you leave?" Sterling asked. "You could have run, hidden." Janelle laughed bitterly. "Where? With my record? My sins?" She shook her head. "Besides, running meant admitting it. For years I told myself I wasn't guilty, that I was just making documents, just helping a man start a new life. What he did with that life, that wasn't my concern." "You knew," Elias said. "It wasn't a question." "Not at first." Janelle lit a cigarette, her hands shaking. "In the beginning, no. He came to me 6 years ago, handsome, charming, said he had trouble with his ID. An ex-wife was stalking him, threatening to kill him. He needed new papers, a new name, a new life. I had just gotten out of prison and needed the money. He paid well." "How many sets of IDs did you make for him?" "3. Julian Vane was the first. Then Andrew Vance. Then Alex Carpenter." "And you never asked why he needed so many identities?" Janelle took a drag of her cigarette. "I asked. He said it was for safety, so the ex wouldn't find him. I believed him. I wanted to believe him." "When did you find out the truth?" Janelle stayed quiet for a long time, then went to a cabinet and pulled out a half-empty bottle of bourbon and a glass. She poured a drink and downed it in one go. "After Olivia," her voice trembled. We were together, not as a couple. I am too old for him. But we met sometimes. He said he valued me, that I was the only one who understood him." She poured another. "That day he came over, excited, cheerful, said the problem was solved. I asked, what problem? He laughed and said, Olivia won't be asking any more questions. I didn't understand. And the next day, I read it in the news. A woman slipped in the shower, hit her head." Elias felt his heart tighten. "And you didn't go to the police?" "No." Janelle finished the drink and set the glass down. "I was scared. Not for myself. I haven't been afraid for myself in a long time. I was afraid of him, of what I saw in his eyes when he talked about Olivia. He was smiling. You understand? Smiling like he was telling a funny joke." So Sterling looked at Elias. "That was 4 years ago." "Yes, Olivia was 4 years ago. And then there was Kiara, a year and a half after Olivia." "Kiara Melvins," Elias clarified. "The one who fell from the balcony." "Yes. She started to suspect something. She got into his phone, found our messages, wanted to go to the police." Janelle flinched. "He came over in a rage, saying she was going to ruin everything, that he had to act fast. And a week later, the accident." "And Sierra?" "Sierra was the last. A year and a half ago, March 14th. She was harder. She had a brother who didn't trust Julian from the start, suspected something. Julian was nervous, said he had to move quickly. Janelle stopped. "What did he do?" "He drugged her, with sleeping pills, a lot of them. Then he called 911, acting hysterical. The paramedics didn't make it in time. The toxicology report showed an overdose. Everyone thought she did it herself. Depression, relationship troubles." Janelle laughed bitterly. "He knows how to create the right picture. He knows how to persuade." "And the brother?" "The brother didn't believe it, as in tried to prove something. But there were no clues. Julian was clean. He is always clean. 6 months later, the brother died in a car crash." Elias turned sharply. "Was that him too?" "I do not know. Truly, I do not. Julian never spoke about it. But the coincidence..." She trailed off. Sterling was recording every word. How many victims were there in total, Janelle? How many women has he killed? The ones I know about? 3. Olivia, Kiara, Sierra. But there were others. Before me, he once mentioned he started when he was young. That the first one was an accident. He hadn't planned it. But then he realized how easy it was. How easy it was to get rid of a person and get away with it. Who was the first? I do not know. He didn't say names, only that he was 23 at the time. And since then, Janelle swallowed. Since then, he decided that people are just a resource, something to be used and thrown away when it is no longer needed. Elias felt nauseous. 9 years. This man had been killing for 9 years, maybe longer. Why are you telling us this now? Sterling asked. You realize this is a confession of being an accomplice. Janelle looked at him with tired eyes. Because I am tired. Tired of being afraid. Tired of waking up in the night from nightmares. Tired of seeing their faces. Olivia, Kiara, Sierra. They haunt my dreams at every night. They look at me and ask, why did you stay silent? Why didn't you stop him? She turned to Elias. And because I see you, a father. You came to save your daughter, and I couldn't save anyone. Maybe now. Her voice broke. Tears ran down her cheeks. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I do not deserve it. But if my words help put him away, maybe up there. She looked at the ceiling. Maybe it will count for something. Sterling put away his notepad. Are you prepared to give an official statement? Yes. You realize you are facing prison time. I understand and accept it. Better prison than... She didn't finish. Better prison. Elias stepped toward her. Where does he keep the documents? The evidence? He must have something. Recordings, photos, something that links him to the victims. Janelle thought for a moment. There is a safe in his apartment. I saw him opening it once. There are files. Many files. He called it his archive. The code? Do you know it? No, but I know he changes it every month. And the code is always linked to the date of death of the last victim. Elias and Sterling looked at each other. Sierra died on March 14th. Yes, a year and a half ago. The code would have been 0314 back then. But he would have changed it since. Janelle went quiet. After meeting your daughter, he sometimes uses significant dates. The day they met, the day they got engaged. Or the wedding date. The wedding date, Elias finished, which is supposed to be in 2 days. Yes, possibly. Sterling stood up. Janelle Banks, I'm going to ask you not to go anywhere or call anyone, especially him. I won't call him, I promise. Also, would you be willing to wear a wire in case he contacts you? Janelle nodded. Anything. Anything to stop him. They left the apartment. On the stairs, Sterling stopped. Elias, you realize this is all circumstantial evidence. Her testimony is her word against his. A lawyer will tear her to pieces. An ex-con, mentally unstable, maybe jealous. I know. That is why we need that safe. Without a warrant, that is illegal entry. I know. Even if we find something, a court might not accept it. Marcus. Elias turned to his friend. I do not care about the court right now. I care about my daughter staying alive. And for that, I need to know everything. Do you understand? Everything. Sterling was silent for a long time. There is one way, he said finally. If he invites someone into the apartment, if we see something by chance, how do we set that up? My daughter. She is his fiancé. She can go to his place with some excuse. Elias shook his head. No, I am not letting her go there alone. Then have her invite him somewhere. Get him out of the apartment for a few hours. And we... Sterling looked at him. I'm already up to my neck in this mess, Elias. It is too late to back down. You are risking your career. I am risking my conscience. If something happens to your daughter, and I could have prevented it, I will never forgive myself. Elias shook his hand. Thank you. Thank me when he is behind bars. They returned to Elias's house. Destiny and Nadine were waiting in the kitchen. Well? Destiny jumped up. What did she say? Elias sat down and told them everything. Every word Janelle had said, every detail. Destiny listened, in silence. Her face grew paler and paler. 4 victims, she whispered when he finished. At least 4. Maybe more. I was supposed to be the next one. You were, but you won't be. What do we do? Elias laid out the plan. Destiny was to call Julian and suggest they spend the evening together. Dinner at a restaurant, then a walk, anything to get him out of the apartment for 3 or 4 hours. During that time, they would get inside and find the safe. That is dangerous, Nadine said. What if he suspects something? He won't, Destiny answered. He is too arrogant. He thinks I am a stupid, love-struck girl who hangs on his every word. He will never believe I am capable of deceiving him. Destiny, honey. Mom, I have to do this. For myself, for those women, for the ones he hasn't killed yet. Elias looked at his daughter with pride. She had grown up. Truly. Grown up. Tomorrow evening, he said. Call him in the morning. Set it up for tomorrow night, and we will have everything ready. Destiny nodded. All right. Tomorrow. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. He lay in the dark, thinking about what they had to do, the risks, the potential consequences. Elias? Nadine whispered. Are you awake? Yes. Me too. She moved closer. I'm scared. So am I. What if something goes wrong? Elias hugged his wife. It won't. I won't let it. You always say that. And I am always afraid. For 30 years, I have been afraid. Every time you went to work, I wondered if you would come home. Every time the phone rang late at night, I jumped. I know. And I am grateful to you for that. For every single day. Nadine sobbed. If anything happens to Destiny, it won't. I promise. They lay in the dark, holding hands. 2 people who had lived together for 30 years. 2 people ready to do anything for their daughter. The next morning, Destiny called Julian. Elias listened to the conversation with bated breath. Hey, babe, I missed you. Let's spend the evening together. Just you and me. Let's have dinner at that place where we went on our first date, remember? Her voice was perfect. Not a trace of a lie. Of course I remember. Julian's voice over the speaker was warm and affectionate. That is a great idea. I will pick you up at 7. Actually, how about I come to your place first? I want to see the condo again before the wedding. Make sure everything is ready for our life together. A pause. Elias tensed up. Sure, Julian said. Come over at 6. I will show you around. Deal. Deal. Love you. Destiny hung up and looked at her father. He agreed. I will be in his apartment. That changes things, Sterling said. If you are inside, you can find the safe, or at least figure out exactly where it is. No, Elias cut him off. Too dangerous. Dad? Destiny went to him. Listen to me. I know this man. I have lived with him for 8 months. I know how he thinks, how he reacts. If anyone can do this, it is me. Destiny, I'm not a little girl. I'm a grown woman, and I want to finish this myself. Do you understand? Myself. Elias looked into his daughter's eyes and saw the same determination he had in his own. All right, he said finally. But you stay connected. A message every 15 minutes. If you miss even one, we are coming in. Deal. The plan was set. All that was left was to execute it. Julian's apartment was in a new luxury complex on the edge of the city. A modern building with a concierge in the lobby and security cameras on every floor. Elias parked a block away and watched as Destiny stepped out of a tool and headed for the entrance. She is in, he said into the radio to Sterling, who was positioned on the other side of the building. I see her. The cameras are recording. If anything happens, we will have the footage. Destiny went up to the 7th floor. Her heart was pounding so loud she felt like the whole building could hear it. She stopped in front of door number 74 and took a deep breath. You can do this, she told herself. You are an actress. You played the love-struck fool for 8 months. Play it for one more night. She rang the bell. The door opened almost immediately. Julian stood there in a white shirt and dark slacks. Handsome, smiling, perfect. Destiny. He hugged her and kissed her. I'm so glad to see you. Destiny forced herself to smile and return the kiss. His lips were warm and familiar and disgusting. I missed you too, she said, entering the apartment. The place was exactly as she imagined it. Minimalist design, expensive furniture, perfect order. Not a single thing out of place. Not a single personal photograph. It was as sterile as an operating room. Do you like it? Julian asked, watching her reaction. It is very modern, Destiny replied. But it feels a bit empty. That is because it is missing a woman's touch. Your touch. He hugged her again. Soon everything will change. Together, we will make this a real home. A home I won't leave alive, Destiny thought. Will you show me around? She asked, gently pulling away from his embrace. I want to know where everything is. Plan where to move things. Of course. Julian took her through the apartment. The living room, the kitchen, the bedroom, the bathroom. Everything was flawlessly clean and completely devoid of character. And what is this? Destiny pointed to a closed door at the end of the hallway. My office. That is where I work. Can I see it? Julian hesitated for a second. Just a second, but Destiny noticed. It is a mess in there, he said with an apologetic smile. I don't want you to see me being so disorganized. I have seen your car, after a long workday. Believe me, a mess won't surprise me. She flashed her most charming smile, the one he loved. Julian laughed. All right, you win, but only for a second. He opened the office door. Destiny walked in and looked around. The room was small. A desk, a computer, bookshelves, and in the corner, a massive gray metal cabinet with a digital lock. A safe. What is that? She asked, trying to keep her voice casual. Documents, contracts, financial papers, boring business stuff. You are such a serious businessman. She playfully poked his ribs. And you never tell me about your work? Because I don't want to bore you. He put his arm around her waist. Come on, let me show you the balcony. The view is incredible. Destiny let him lead her out of the office, but she had already memorized the location of the safe. In the corner, to the right of the door. A digital lock. 6 digits. The view from the balcony was indeed beautiful. The evening city, the lights, the sunset. Julian hugged her from behind, resting his chin on her shoulder. Tomorrow you will be my wife, he whispered. I have waited so long for this. Me too. We are going to be so happy. I promise. Destiny felt his hands tighten around her waist. A bit more than necessary. possessively. "I need to use the bathroom," she said, pulling away. "Wait for me?" "Of course." She left the balcony and headed for the bathroom. On the way, she pulled out her phone and quickly typed a message to her father. "Found the safe, office, corner to the right, 6 digits, everything okay?" The reply came instantly. "Got it. Be careful." Destiny hid her phone and went into the bathroom. She needed a minute, just 1 minute, to gather her strength. She looked in the mirror. Her face was pale. There were dark circles under her eyes, but her gaze was firm and determined. "Can you do this?" she asked her reflection. "Just a little more. Just a little more." When she came out, Julian was waiting in the living room with 2 glasses of wine. "To us?" he said, handing her a glass. Destiny took the glass, but didn't drink. She remembered Janelle's words about Sierra. Drugged. Overdose. "I am driving," she said. Later at the restaurant. "I thought you took a taxi?" "Yes, but—" She hesitated. "I just don't want to drink on an empty stomach. I will get lightheaded." Julian shrugged and put her glass on the table. "As you wish. Let's head to the restaurant then. I have our table reserved." "Let's go." They left the apartment. In the elevator, Julian hugged her again, and Destiny forced herself to lean into him. Play the role to the end. Elias watched as they left the building and got into Julian's SUV. The black vehicle pulled away smoothly. "They are gone," he said into the radio. "How much time do we have?" "The restaurant is 20 minutes away," Sterling replied. "Plus dinner, at least an hour. Plus the drive back. We have 2 hours, maybe more." "That is plenty." Elias stepped out of his car and headed toward the building. In his pocket was a set of lockpicks, a legacy from his days as an investigator. He had never thought he would have to use them again. The concierge in the lobby was watching TV and didn't pay him any attention. Elias slipped past with a nod and took the elevator to the 7th floor, door number 74. The lock was modern, but not too complicated. After 3 minutes, Elias was inside. The apartment greeted him with silence and the scent of expensive cologne, the same scent he smelled every time Julian came to their house. The office, the corner to the right. Elias found the safe exactly where Destiny had said. A massive metal cabinet with a digital lock, 6 digits. He tried 03142, the date of Sierra's death with the year. The lock flashed red. He tried 031424, the upcoming wedding date. Red again. He tried 240314, the wedding date, in reverse. Red. Elias stopped. 3 failed attempts. If he tried one more, the safe might lock down, or worse, send a signal to the owner. He pulled out his phone and called Sterling. "Marcus, I need help. The codes aren't working." "What combinations did you try?" "The date of Sierra's death, the wedding date." "Wait." Sterling went silent. Janelle said he used significant dates. Maybe not the deaths, but the meetings. "I do not know when he met Destiny. Ask her." "Text her." Elias typed to Destiny. "Date of your first meeting?" The reply came a minute later. "April 15th. Why?" 150424. He entered the code. Read. "Not working," he said into the phone. "Damn it. Maybe the engagement date." "When was that?" "Ask her." Another text. "When did he propose?" "September 28th. Why are you asking?" "Is everything okay?" "Everything is fine, just checking." 280924. Elias entered the code, holding his breath. Green. The safe clicked and opened. Inside was exactly what Janelle had described. Files, many files, neatly labeled and organized by date. Elias grabbed the first one. The label on the cover said Project O. Olivia. Inside were photos, documents, copies of property deeds, and the most horrifying part, a diary. Handwritten notes in neat script. March 12th. O is starting to ask questions. Need to speed things up. March 15th. Documents signed. House transferred. March 18th. Problem solved. Accident in the shower. Police do not suspect. Elias felt bile rise in his throat. He opened the next folder. Project K. KR. The same photos, the same documents, the same cold-blooded diary. June 5th. Found the messages with J problem. June 8th. K is threatening the police. Must act. June 12th. Balcony. 10th floor. Cleaned. Elias turned the pages, and every line was like a punch to the gut. This man documented his murders, kept records like an accountant, keeping track of expenses. The next folder? Project S, Sierra, and the last folder? Project D, Destiny. Elias's hands were shaking as he opened it. Inside were photos of his daughter, at her exhibit, in a cafe on the street. Some were taken even before they had officially met. He had been stalking her, choosing her, like a hunter, choosing his prey. The notes. April 15th. First contact. D is the ideal target. Father is a retired investigator, but past his prime. House in the hills, downtown condo. Estimated value 1.2 million plus. May 20th. Relationship progressing as planned. D trusts me completely. September 28th. Proposal accepted. Wedding set for March. March 10th. Father is suspicious. Need to speed up the process. After the wedding, maximum 2 months. Then a divorce. Or the alternative. Elias photographed every page, every document, every photo. His hands were trembling, but he forced himself to work methodically, just like in the old days. When he finished, there was one more folder in the safe with no name. He opened it and froze. Inside were documents. On a name he didn't know. Marcus Sterling. Photo. Address, workplace, and a note. Connection to subject D. Potential threat. Surveillance. Julian knew about Sterling. He knew Sterling was helping. Elias grabbed his phone. Marcus, he knows about you. He has a file. Photos, address, everything. He has been following you. Sterling swore. What are the dates on the notes? Elias looked at the documents. The last entry is from this morning. S and subject met at Janelle's house. Threat confirmed. He had seen them this morning when they were at Janelle's. Julian had been following them. Elias, get out of there, now. What about Destiny? I will call her. We will figure something out. But you need to leave now. Elias closed the safe and rushed for the door. In the hallway, he heard the sound of the elevator opening. He froze. The elevator doors slid apart, and Julian stepped out into the hall. Alone, without Destiny. Their eyes met. Mr. Galloway? Julian said calmly. What a surprise. Decided to visit your future son-in-law? A knife glinted in his hand. The hallway suddenly felt as small as a grave. Elias looked at the man who was planning to kill his daughter and felt time slow down to a crawl. Where is Destiny? He asked, trying to keep his voice formal. Julian smiled. That same smile Elias had seen 100 times. Warm, charming, inviting. Only now, he knew what was hiding behind it. Destiny? Oh, do not worry. She is safe. For now. What did you do to her? Nothing. Yet. Julian repeated, stepping forward. The knife in his hand shimmered in the hallway light. You know, Mr. Galloway, I underestimated you. I thought you were a tired old man, a paranoid relic of the past. But you turned out to be persistent. You knew we would come? Of course. I saw you this morning at Janelle's. Poor Janelle. She was always the weak link. Too sentimental. Too much conscience. He spat the word out with disgust. I knew she would break sooner or later. Elias slowly backed toward the apartment. If he could get inside, there might be something to defend himself with. Anything. Do not move, Julian warned. I am faster. Believe me, I know how to use this thing. Like you did with Kiara? With Olivia? With Sierra? Julian laughed. Oh, you found my archive? Impressive, isn't it? I have always been meticulous. I love order. I love having everything documented. Are you insane? No, Mr. Galloway, I am practical. People are a resource. Some use oil, others use timber. I use people. What is the difference? Elias felt his heart pounding in his chest. He was 62, Julian was 32. In a direct physical confrontation, he had no chance. Where is my daughter? He repeated. Asleep in the car, a glass of wine at the restaurant, and she was out before the appetizers arrived. The waiter helped me carry her out. I told them my wife had a bit too much to drink. Everyone was very sympathetic. Julian chuckled. People are so trusting. If you touch her, what will you do? Julian stepped closer. You are an old man with a weak heart. I have seen you clutching your chest when you think no one is looking. One strike, and that is it. A heart attack. Very convincing. At that moment, the phone in Elias's pocket vibrated. Julian noticed. Do not, he warned. Hands where I can see them. It is Sterling, Elias said. He knows where I am. If I do not answer, he is coming. Let him come. I will be long gone with your daughter. And believe me, you will never see her again. Elias realized the talking was over. Julian wasn't going to let him go. He had come here to kill. You know, Elias said slowly, over 30 years, I have caught a lot of men like you. Smart, calculating, convinced of their own invincibility. And they all made the same mistake. They thought they were special, that the rules didn't apply to them. Julian frowned. What is your point? My point is that you are not as smart as you think. Elias pressed the button on his phone in his pocket, the one he had set up before leaving. An emergency call. A direct line to Sterling. What are you doing? Julian stepped toward him. Giving you a chance. Your last one. Tell me where the car is. Where is Destiny? And maybe you will live long enough to stand trial. Julian burst out laughing. Are you bluffing, old man? You have nothing. I have your archive. The photos, the documents, your handwriting, your confessions. Even if they are obtained illegally, a court might not take them, but the families of the victims will. With pleasure. What do you think Sierra's brother will do when he finds out you killed his sister? That you tried to kill him too? For the first time, Julian wavered. He died in the crash. No, he survived. You were sure he was dead. You even told Janelle that. But he made it. He is in a wheelchair now, but he is alive. And he is very, very angry. It was the truth. Sterling had found that information yesterday while checking the accident records. Sierra's brother, Nicholas Vance, had survived, although he was paralyzed. For 2 years, he had been looking for proof that the accident was staged. For 2 years, he had been waiting for a chance at revenge. Julian went pale. For the first time, the mask cracked. You wouldn't dare. I won't. But he will. And I won't stop him. At that moment, the door to the stairs at the end of the hall flew open. Sterling. Behind him, 2 uniformed officers. Police! Drop the weapon! Julian spun around. In a second, his confidence evaporated. He saw the barrels aimed at him, saw men ready to fire. Drop the knife! Sterling shouted. Hands behind your head. Julian looked at Elias. In his eyes, for the first time, there was fear. Real, animal fear. The fear of a trapped beast. This isn't over, he hissed. It is over, Elias replied. For you. The knife clattered to the floor. A second later, Julian was face down. Handcuffs were snapped onto his wrists behind his back. Destiny. Elias rushed to Sterling. She is in the car. He drugged her. The car is in the underground garage, Sterling said. We found it. The medics are with her now. She is okay. Is she really? She is okay. The dose of the sedative was small. He didn't have time to finish what he started. They are bringing her around. Elias felt his legs give way. He leaned against the wall, trying to catch his breath. Julian was led away. Elias went down the stairs slowly, holding the railing. His legs wouldn't obey him. In the garage, an ambulance was parked. Medics were busy around it. Elias saw the gurney, the IV, the oxygen mask. He waited. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, one of the medics approached him. Are you the father? Yes. She is conscious. She wants to see you. Elias rushed to the ambulance. Destiny was sitting on the gurney, pale, her hair disheveled but alive. Alive. Dad? She tried to stand up, but a nurse gently held her back. Elias hugged his daughter, tightly, as he hadn't hugged her since she was a child. I am so sorry, she sobbed. I am sorry. I should have listened to you from the start. Quiet, honey. It is okay. It is over. Julian was led past them in handcuffs. He wasn't smiling anymore. His face was gray, empty. The mask had finally slipped off, and there was nothing underneath. Emptiness. A black, bottomless void. Destiny lifted her head and looked him in the eyes. I loved you, she said quietly. Truly. And you? You aren't even human. Julian didn't say a word. He was taken away. The trial took place 6 months later. By then, the investigation had uncovered 2 more victims, women who had died under strange circumstances several years before Olivia. The total number of murders reached 5. There may have been others, but they couldn't be proven. Janelle gave her testimony. She was tried as an accomplice, but her cooperation with the investigation was taken into account. She was given 3 years of probation. She walked out of the courtroom looking 10 years older, but there was something new in her eyes. Maybe a hope for redemption. Nicholas Vance was present at every session, in his wheelchair, with a hollow look. But when the verdict was announced, he cried, for the first time in 2 years. Julian, whose real name turned out to be Julian Carraway, was sentenced to life in prison. When he was led away, he didn't look back once. Not at the judge, not at the victims' families, and not at Destiny, who sat in the front row, clutching her mother's hand. After the trial, Elias went out onto the courthouse steps and lit a cigar. His first in 6 months. He had quit after that night in Julian's apartment. The doctors said his heart couldn't take it. But today he could. Dad? Destiny followed him out. How are you doing? I am all right. How about you?" She stayed quiet for a moment. "I do not know. I guess I should feel relieved, but I just feel empty." "That will pass." "Are you sure?" "Yes. With time, it will pass. You are young. You have your whole life ahead of you." Destiny leaned against his shoulder. "Thank you, Dad, for everything." "Nothing to thank me for. I just did what I had to do." "No, you did more, much more." They stood on the steps, father and daughter, watching the sun set over the horizon. The sunset was beautiful, almost as beautiful as the one they had seen 20 years ago when little Destiny had first asked, "Dad, why is the sky red?" "Because the day is ending," he had said then, "and the night is beginning. And then a new day. Always. No matter what happens, a new day always comes." He remembered those words now and smiled. "Let's go home," he said. "Your mother is waiting." A year passed. Destiny opened her design studio, the one Julian had talked about. Only now it was her studio, her dream, her life. Without him, she no longer painted portraits. Only landscapes, bright, sun-drenched ones full of hope. At one of her exhibits, a man approached her. He wasn't handsome, he wasn't particularly charming, and he wasn't perfect. He was ordinary, with kind eyes and a warm smile. "I love your painting," he said. "There is so much light in it." Destiny looked at him closely, evaluating him the way her father had taught her, and she didn't see an empty void. She saw only light. "Thank you," she replied. "My name is Destiny." "Micah. But you can just call me Mike." They shook hands, and for the first time in a very long time, Destiny felt that everything was going to be okay. Elias sat on his porch and watched the sunset. Nadine brought him some tea and sat beside him. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "Destiny? And that boy she brought over last week. Micah. He is nice." "Nice," Elias agreed. "But I am still going to run a check on him." Nadine laughed. "Elias, you are incorrigible." "I'm cautious. There is a difference." He sipped his tea and looked at his wife. 30 years together. 30 years. And he loved her just as much as he did on the first day. "You know," he said, "I thought retirement would be boring. But it turns out the most interesting part is only just beginning. Hopefully, without any mom chases and serial killers," Nadine huffed. "Hopefully." They sat together, holding hands, watching the sun disappear. The day was ending, but tomorrow a new one would come. A new day always comes. "I'm really glad you're here, and that I could share my story with you. If you liked it, show me by liking the video and subscribing to my channel. Let's see how many of us there are. Write in the comments which city you're watching from and what time it is. I'm so curious to know where all you wonderful people are tuning in from. If you wanted to support me a little extra, you can also send a small donation. I share new life stories for you every single day. And now, 2 of my most popular stories will pop up on the screen so you can choose what to watch next.